All right, so welcome to Out of the Basement, Demystifying Security and Operations. So what do I mean by demystifying security and operations? What I mean by that is basically clearing up the misconception and stereotypes associated with technical operations and security, so that you don't think of this when you see ops, that we're just always fighting fires and we're intimidating and we're cynical and we're just not, paying attention to the world. Or that you don't see really, freaky people being like, no, you cannot use that new tool on the app when you're thinking about security. I want to clear up these misconceptions and stereotypes that you usually see, because security and operations really is me. Hi, my name is Jamesha Fisher. I work on the ops team at CloudPassage, where I also work with an even bigger tech team to collaboratively produce a very beautiful security product. In addition to that, I also look good after coming off of a night shift and then going straight into brunch, because that's exactly what happened when I took that picture. I look freaking fabulous, right? So now that that's settled and I've introduced myself and you see a face with security and operations, let's talk about why I got into this. Why did I get into security and ops? The reason I got into security and ops, especially in college, is that with security, you have to know a full breadth of technology as well as the impacts. So on the technology part, I had to learn everything. I had to learn networking, I had to learn programming, I had to learn systems, I had to learn hardware, I had to learn security stuff like compliance, and then how hardware and systems interacted with each other and what was the vulnerabilities on them and the research. So I just had this full plethora of things to learn. On top of that, I had to learn the human side of technology and how it impacted our society, like how privacy concerns mattered or how the history of technology impacted our society. So because of security, I learned not only technology, but how everything worked and how it all intertwined. Now, why I specifically went into ops is that hold on, give me a breath. So why I specifically went into operations with kind of a focus on security is because, one, I was really interested in Linux at the time. When I was in college, I didn't even learn Linux really inside the classroom. I learned it outside within the tech community in Chicago while I was still going to school, and it really excited me. On top of that, my bread and butter was mostly in networking and systems. That was my interest. And at the same time, systems are probably the biggest goal when you talk about attacks or incidents happening with securities or breaches. They're usually trying to reach some database or some service that they can take advantage of. So it was critical for me to kind of jump into that space, because that seemed to be where most of the source of incidents were happening. So now that I've told you about why I got into it, why do we love it? And when I say we, I mean the other ops people, because I'm just only one voice, and there are so many other people who also share the ideals that I have. Such as my love for problem solving, which got me into technology in the first place. We love figuring out a problem or issue. And this includes even figuring out issues when they unexpectedly happen, like at 2 a.m. and you get that page and you're like, oh, this sucks. But ooh, this is an interesting and new problem. And this includes on the security side, because when you hit an incident like that, it creates opportunity for growth and ultimately change. It's not seen as a bad thing, but something to overcome in the ever-changing landscape, and it allows us to be creative. We also love being involved in our company and community. We love the goings on and seeing what's what is happening, even though we have the responsibility of taking care of our infrastructure. And this ultimately, appeals to us in both ways because we get to seek out technology and we also get to care about culture. And we get paid for it, which is really cool. Now, with that being said, what do we dislike and what improvements can be made? So one of the big things that I like to lead off with is how there's this divide, especially when the companies are growing, between building the infrastructure and the new hotness versus maintaining what you currently have. And some companies are really not that great at it. Sometimes the maintenance part is an afterthought, and that needs to kind of be improved, and there needs to be a balance found for that. However, it's hard. It's hard to have, it's hard to, one, find the balance between, okay, how much do we need to dedicate to the new hotness and how much do we need to dedicate to maintaining what we currently have and keeping our customers happy? And also making sure that all the teams are on the same page and making sure that they're having those conversations. Because sometimes those conversations happen and then sometimes they don't. Like for instance, when you're creating a new project and you wait until the very, very last minute to include security and/or ops. I ran into this situation specifically personally. Like one time we were trying to roll something out in advance of a conference at one company I was working at. And it was not until the weekend before this conference that they were like, oh, we probably need to include ops in this because stuff is broken right now. So it was like, great, there goes my weekend. But it's like having those conversations in advance and having the empathy toward the other team. It's really helpful, which brings me to my last point. We need to have more empathy towards those of diverse backgrounds in security and ops. Many times, especially in ops and security, we get hit the hardest with trying to reprove ourselves, or at least trying to get our foot in the door when we're first starting out. There needs to be a more encouraging and nurturing culture, and that's especially for the diverse backgrounds and people of color like me. So in conclusion, we're here, we're growingly diverse, we're technically curious and excited, and we want to help. However, we need the communication in order to keep those lines open so we can balance the new hotness and maintenance. We need the empathy for, thinking ahead, and we also need the acceptance. Because when we do all these things, we all win. Thank you.